Yep.
You know, I think maybe one of the reasons that I like this so much is because, well, I mean, the show's great. What you guys do is awesome. But I always worked with my dad growing up.
Yeah.
You know, like my dad was a woodworker, and we just, you know, not like anything like you do is extravagant, but I always worked with my dad in his workshop.
Yeah.
Just doing all kinds of cool stuff. So.
Yeah. I can relate to that. My dad, what was the funny thing with me is, when I turned about 30, you know, my dad taught me everything I know, and I never gave him the credit, ever. I mean, we sort of parted ways. Like, you know, I was the first kid. I was an ornery, bad rebel, and but everything that I did as a kid, he taught me, and I didn't even figure it out. So I grabbed different things. Like he taught me. My very first thing was a bicycle. I was 9 years old. I was with my friends in California. Everybody was getting bikes. I didn't have a bike. My dad brought back some old beat-up piece of junk, and he said, I'll never forget this. He said, if you ever want to have anything, you got to appreciate it and do it yourself. And so he gave me this bike. He helped me go into the store, actually Pep Boys, go get parts, come home, paint it, strip it, make it all beautiful again. And then I rode around the neighborhood and it was huge. My bike was bad to the bone, badder than anybody else's bike. So, you know, he did that, and then I was starting to get restless and stuff, so he got me into the soapbox derby racing. So I built a whole soapbox derby, which is all wood, and there's some mechanics in it, and a lot of fiberglass, so I got into that, did that one. And then I ended up, same thing, I wanted a motorcycle. He brought an old motorcycle, helped me restore that, did that, and that was pretty much on my own. I did the bike on my own. And then he gave me his old car, a Jeep. I restored that in minutes, and the next thing you know, just every single thing. And then when I left the house at 18, I just got into other stuff. I was in construction, and had all kinds of stuff going on. So I can relate to the dad thing. Yeah. But what's most important is when Tyler was 3, his mom and I split up when he was born. And then he came around, and so I sort of was teaching him stuff, you know. At 3, he'd be just hanging out at the shop, standing on the table, just waiting and checking stuff out. Till he turned about 16, he's been around the shop, but never had an interest. And now Tyler can do anything here at the shop. Yeah. He just, between 16 and 20, he went to town. He knows how to do everything. He runs the whole shop. I can be gone for a month, and he can make sure everything's done.
Oh, he must be so proud.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And then Brettley is Kelly's son.
Sure.
And none of them knew anything. And then we got a daughter too, Allie. None of them knew anything. And when they jumped into the business, it allowed them to watch this, and they've all taken their places. I mean, right now we leave, the kids will run the shop. They all want the shop, something fierce. The thing is, they don't all know everything. Yeah. They all know stages. Like Allie knows the books and how to deal with the customers up front and run the shop. Brettley knows how to buy and sell. Tyler knows how to run the shop, so it's sort of cool. They all have to have each other.
Yeah, we had a family business growing up, and everybody worked there.
Yeah.
It was electronic distributing company, so it's like nothing like this, but
yeah.
I know how you feel.
It's tough.
It's a family business.
It's tough, though, in a family business, because I'd never had one. I got married, and you got 2 different ideas and sides, and so it sort of brought us all together.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, especially if you can balance it, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So just going back a little bit, so was your father, did he own a restoration business?
No. My dad was...
he just did it for fun? Or?
He was in the Army, and then he ended up coming out of the Army, had a bunch of different jobs, did construction stuff. And then he started to work for Southern California Edison, which is a big power company.
Sure.
And then he was running it, the whole thing. And when he'd come home on the weekends, he would help the neighbors build something, or he just was very handy.
Got it.
But as a son, he was gone all the time. I didn't see him very often, except the weekends to yell at us. And he was into the sports, and then the more kids we had, that my parents had, the last one, which is Ron, he got into sports heavy, and then he just went off. And Ron, I'm 11 years older than Ron, so I was gone. I was leaving, and then Ron was growing up, so he got very... babied, and that was their last kid.
Got it.
Everybody else, whatever you learn, then get out. Tyler was babied big time, or Ron was babied, but that's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I asked because obviously you do so many intricate things that if your dad had knowledge of all these things, that must have been incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you said he taught you a lot.
Yeah, he taught me stuff, and I think...
he was just one of those old-fashioned guys, huh? Just pick stuff up kind of
Yeah. He'd never buy anything. He never buy anything. He would fix stuff. I just evidently learned it. I think when I got into restoring in '83, I had a construction company.
keep going.
I had a construction company, and it was sort of went under. I had a bad partner, went under, and then I had a Coke machine in the backyard, and I figured somebody said, if you want to sell them, they're selling them in Southern California, and somebody's buying overseas, Japan's buying. So I restored it, took it down there, and got into the Coke machines, and then I flopped into gas pumps, and I got into coin-op vending machines and jukeboxes.
Sure.
And the show's what brought out all the word stuff. And those are always just a challenge. It's not like I know how to do everything. I just sort of,
It seems like
just because you tear apart, you figure it out, and then you put it together, and it doesn't always work. You've always got struggles to make sure. I've had times where in the beginning of filming, we couldn't have it make it work. And then it had to go out the way it was, or we would just keep it until it did work. I mean, it just, over and over, and try to really, I think the details things is something that I keep going on, pushing a detail. Yeah, do a little bit more on this, go a little harder on that, make it a little better.
Yeah. Well, those details are what really drives your success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
You don't cut corners,
No, and it just got more. It's big snowball, always learning, every single day, new project.
Sure.
And one of the things about the show is that when I would, for 25 years, I would buy something, restore it, and then take it somewhere and sell it. And mainly the people who buy from me are people who are with money. Mm-hmm. And they just buy it and thank you very much and see you later. And there was no gratification as an artist.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything. The show really hit. I mean, it was like I would restore something of somebody's grandmothers or grandfathers, and when they came back and there were tears and all that stuff, now I drive for that. Mm-hmm. Now I only want the stuff that means something to somebody. I do it, but I don't like, there's corporations that come in. They want to have something done, and they want their name out there. Yeah, stuff like that. And I mean, but I had story to that. The Dodgers thing, I had feelings for that, so I didn't mind. But it was for a casino that was selling, that was profiting.
Right.
And this stuff's just not as, I mean, there's a lot of other ones out there, just not as driving, unless they like we just did a slot machine and turned into a kegerator. It was for a big company, but it's challenging, so it's really cool to get inside. And it just depends on budget, because if I can really get stupid on one, as long as somebody's got the money to do it.
Sure.
Just do something wild, like Sammy Hagar's.
Yeah,
Sammy
Hagar's
so
cool, man.
Was a piece that
the Rummerator?
Yeah.
I loved it.
Just could make something into the wildest thing I wanted. All the guys in the crew were all pitching in different ideas.
Yeah.
And
your imagination's unbelievable.
Yeah, really. Just keep throwing it out there.
I was just like, wow.
Yeah. Well, we just do. I've been around so long. I've done a lot of car shows and been out there so much that all that weird stuff sort of just comes out when you start building.
Sure.
And it helps to have a good crew. I mean, these guys, they all came to me with nothing. Nobody had a job. Nobody's an expert at anything.
Yeah.
And I bring them in and I find what they're good at it, and then we teach them.
That's really cool. You guys have come a long way.
Yeah, a long ways.
Yeah. So speaking of the budgets and all that, like, what's the largest job you've ever done?
I'd say right now is that car that just came through. We're doing a James Bond. 4 of these Lotuses, 1977 Lotuses, were built for a James Bond movie that were the submarine. They went from ashore, and they went in the water, and then they shot up rockets. It was a James Bond movie, right?
Do you remember which one it was? Was it
The Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh, Spy Who Loved Me. Yeah, I got it.
And so, I don't do a lot of cars or something, and that's when it really gets expensive.
Sure.
But this Lotus, I mean, it's a $50,000 restoration, and it's just trash. What happened was they had 4, and one of them kept in different stages in the filming industry. You got one that's all there, one that's a couple props, one that does underwater, one that does this. Well, this is the one that was underwater.
Cool.
And it's trashed. It got left in the Bahamas in a salvage yard, and it's just, there's not one straight, it's all fiberglass. Nothing is left on it. So, and it used to have little fins that turned on the side, and then the wheels tucked themselves in under, had missile launchers and all that kind of stuff on it, and came in rough. So that's the most expensive one. Yeah. And when you guess at an estimation exactly what I do, a lot of car shops will say, okay, our shop rate's $100 an hour, and give me a $10,000 deposit, and as we go, this week we had so many hours, and you owe this much money. And that's how shops do it. Our shop's not like that. You come in, we give a price, and that's just where it's at. So a lot of times we lose.
Oh, man.
Percentage is probably 80% okay? Because every one of these you haven't built before, so you're not going to be fast.
Right.
You go to a car shop or a bike shop. They know what a bike looks like. They know what a car looks like. It's just boom, 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 boom.
Sure.
When you get this weird stuff in, you can spend 2 days messing with it just to make sure it's right. So taking on this kind of a car is, I mean, I've done cars and stuff before, but and I hate fiberglass.
Mm-hmm.
I like it, but it's twice as much work and as much money as anything with metal on. It just always is. It takes a longer process to get it right, and so that's the highest one that's came through is this Lotus James Bond. But the 4 cars that they had, one of them sold for $1 million.
Wow.
I find there's all this stuff out after.
Got it.
But I'm not about that. I'm not about saying, because I could have charged him $500,000 to restore his thing that's worth $1 million.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I didn't really want to check into it. I just sort of was playing it by ear. And, a lot of people get stuff restored for different reasons. I mean, you get something restored. Most of the time, the restorer makes all the money.
Yeah.
It's just you're not gonna make any money unless you hold on to it for a while, and then it goes up in value.
Yeah.
So
Well, it says a lot about your character that you do it for the love of the job. You know what I mean?
I'm very passionate about it.
Definitely.
I'm really, really passionate. Between the crew and my family and what I do and what I love doing, I mean, that's just the way it is. I like that a lot. And that's what probably makes me really give it all. I'm all the way in it.
Yeah.
I'm not like, who cares?
And that comes through in the show.
Yeah.
Ask her, I'll watch 15 episodes in a row, man. I love it. Really, I do. I love it.
Yeah.
And, I got a couple of questions regarding that, like the family-based orientation of the show itself. Was that your idea, Kelly's idea, History Channel's idea?
Well, it sort of was slid in there. When I first started the show, actually, I started working for Pawn. Tyler was around, Bretley was around, I was there, and I had one body man. And we were really getting slow. I mean, the economy was diving, we didn't have nothing going on. And when the production company called and said they wanted me to sell something to the Pawn to be on an episode, it was something that was unrestored. And I was a restorer. I wasn't into, like, junking. I never have just taken an unrestored piece and sold it unless I had to. I needed money.
Sure.
So they came in and they wanted us to do something. I said no to them a couple times. And finally I said, well, I restore stuff. They said, well, why don't you be our expert? They were mingling to make the show work, Pawn's work. So I said, okay. So came in, did a few machines for them. And then they evidently liked the episodes well enough and they liked the character well enough, they offered me mine. Sure. When they offered me my show, I was sort of reluctant because I didn't know what it entailed, but granted, I sure could use the money at that time. Yeah. So started in, and it just, I think what I was telling you about the people's emotions, it really started kicking in. It really started kicking in. So I thought, hey, this could be cool. So took on, and we're up to 5 seasons. So
that's great, man. Yeah. Really. I hope it goes forever.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I really do, man. I hope one day you're the old man sitting around. And
that'd be nice.
Belly and Tyler in here.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
Playing jokes on you and
we'll
stuff.
see how that's gonna work.
Definitely.
The production company's tough, but that's how we ended up getting into it. I didn't want a show, just sort of got popped into it.
And you can see the transition of the show over time too, throughout the seasons. You can see now it seems like it's more family oriented, even in the introduction to the show. And to finish out what I said, we started that, and they picked Tyler and Ron because I said to them the very first day what I really wanted was my kid to take over the shop, and that's how they said, well, okay, your brother's around and this is around. Kelly at the time really didn't. She was sort of nervous, didn't want. She was being the back things. As soon as things started rolling, Kelly threw. I mean, she's very business orientated. So she threw out all her business into it. So then immediately she needed to be inside in the show too. Bretley did the same. So that's what sort of got the basis of all the characters, and all being family characters. And then ended up. Cowboy's been with me for 14 years, and he left and he popped back in. He left for a couple years and he came back. He was knocking on my door wanting work. So we threw Cowboy in there, and then Kyle was doing restoration. So that's how there was only like 5 guys that was in the restoration. They just sort of picked on those family members to be the cast. I'm pushing to get Allie in more and Kelly in more. Cool.
Because they both do an intricate part of the business that you don't really get to see all.
Sure.
And when the producers, there's writers, and they write different stuff. It's not all about how we used to do it, where it just happens. Stuff happens, and all of a sudden it needs to stay fresh.
Yeah.
So they need to. They're hopefully going to write them in more because it's tough in the family. Somebody feels neglected, and it makes it tough for the family when you go home.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure everybody's in there, and I have a power now. I didn't before. I feel like I can say, okay, this is what I want.
Yeah,
and
sure.
90% of the time, they give me what I want. So that's good.
I thought Zarrelli did great as an auctioneer, man.
Zarrelli's a character. Zarrelli's the funnest guy. He's he never found his niche. He wanted to be a guitar player. He was only working to make money. That was it. Sure. And then now he's really deep into the business, and he just he likes it. So
look what you created for everyone.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
incredible.
I know.
That's really cool.
I know, it's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. So you can obviously see the passion you have when it comes to restoring objects. So two-part question. What's let's say your own possession that you restored that's your most favorable, and then what is your most favorite restoration you've done for someone else?
Oh yeah. I'd say the one is my truck.
Yeah.
My truck, because the truck was a project that always got in the way of work. Like I was doing the truck for 13 years. I was building this truck, and then I'd go to work, and I didn't have time to work on the truck, and went back and forth. When the show came in, I had a Chrysler 300 that was, I only had that car, and then I had the truck that was sitting back there not done. So the show came in, and then I just jumped on the truck, got it all finished, but I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money. So we took off on the very first pick. So we rode up to Ely, and I blew both tires. I had old tires, blew up a tire, and so the truck is like my personal one. I
get that.
I don't keep very much stuff that I've ever restored. And I've restored some wild stuff. I've bought some wild stuff and then restored it and then tried to sell it, and I end up selling it. And the truck's probably my favorite for me. On the show, there's tons, but the thing that I love, I love our military, and I love what they do for us.
Sure, of course.
And when I was a kid, my dad would take me out to Nellis Air Force Base, and we'd go to the air races. And there was this plane, F-105, sitting out there that was sort of a memorial, but I didn't know it. It looks like a plane up there on top, big, huge plane. So when Kelly got a call from Nellis Air Force Base wanting me to restore that particular piece that's been in some shed, I thought, oh my God, that'd be great. And it wasn't all about just the restoration. It was about what we were giving back to them and doing for the Air Force Base. And I didn't even get it. I was doing it, and I thought I was proud to be part of that and very honored. And when we go to reveal it, it was, there was 200 guys there in the military and families and stuff. And oh my God, it was incredible how much love they were giving me back, appreciation, and it was honor for me. Then after that, then they say, hey, you want to go for a ride in the F-16? This is one of my dreams. I love race cars, and they gave me a ride in F-16, which was like, I can't even tell you. When I got on the ground, it was like no other. I couldn't barely talk.
Wow.
It was the most coolest experience I've ever done in my life. And then after that happened, about a month later, they had a ceremony that the wife. What happened was this F-105, this guy died while they were doing stunts, and the plane broke in half and he died. So that's what the memorial was. Well, he was. It left behind was his wife and like at least four kids.
Wow.
Well, they all came to this memorial reinstating. They were going to put it back up there, put a plaque on the front, and Kelly said we're going to go to this memorial. And I thought how cool when they were there. It was even more gut-wrenching, heartbreaking. Their kids, their kids were little, and now they're 40. Yeah. But it was like they showed so much appreciation. The mom's hugging me. She's like older, she was probably 75. And it was like just it was the greatest project, and I got the most fulfillment out of it as far as appreciation and the honor to do that. That was my favorite of all. What do I want to say? I was proud to do that.
Sure.
Proud.
Sure.
Done some wicked stuff. We've done wicked stuff, but that was my best.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually going to ask you, what would be your holy grail, but it sounds like that would be it, right?
That's it.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah, that's it. And it wasn't that complex. We did We did the seat that they were doing on the moon. We did one of the moon things. I mean,
I saw that. Yeah, that was incredible,
like
man.
Insane. I mean, they've done some cool stuff.
The jetpack, right?
Jetpack, yeah.
That was really cool, by the way.
Yeah.
The one was signed by Buzz?
Yeah, by Buzz and Sarandon, yeah. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you got to see some cool pieces of history. Yes, I'm a big history buff. I mean, I nerd out on them all the time, and it's just like...
Oh, isn't... to be part of that, and when you take apart something, you sort of go through its past, you see the guys that worked on it, back in the day, how hard they worked on stuff, how intelligent they were, how much pride they put in. You can really see it as you're taking it apart. And you can see the layers of if somebody, painted something or did fix something. You can see all that when you tear it all the way apart. Yeah, so you go to the bare bones. It's like tearing apart a body and then putting back together again. You sort of feel it all.
Right.
So that's just, it's good stuff.
Definitely. Well, that actually leads me to a great question I was going to ask you anyways. In the future... let's say 20 years from now when Tyler's running this place. I mean, it sounds like he already is, of course, but do you feel like what are some of the challenges he's going to face? Because obviously your generation before that, they built things to last. So much so that even after they rust out, you can sandblast them and restore them. Yes. Products now, I feel like either made of plastic and some of the things, they may not be able to actually be restored, more like replaced. So do you feel like that's going to be a challenge for you, or do you think you're always going to be restoring old objects?
Well, I mean, even back when I started, which was 30 years ago, I thought it would end. And it hasn't. I mean, I'm 30 years into it, and it hasn't ended. This stuff's still out there. And I think because of shows like Picker Pawn, that one on PBX where the people bring all their items in and they show how much they are worth. Those are big Antique Roadshow. Okay. And those are all big shows that are actually taking the economy with their down. The people are down and they want to bring stuff. They don't have money to buy stuff, so they're fixing stuff. I think or selling stuff. So I think that's recycling.
Sure.
And I don't think it's going to end. As far as Tyler having a challenge, I think it will all be out there. I think it'll be challenged because it's going to be different all the time. There'll be something weirder or something come in.
Yeah, sure.
I hope we don't use it all up on my level. But as far as restoring the present, I mean, there's only a few things out there. The way I look at things. I mean, I'm older, and the way that I look at things, like I've said it many, many times, they didn't build stuff like that anymore.
Right.
They didn't build it to last. They build it to be replaced now.
Right.
So. I mean, you look around at stuff, and it's not going to be there. Plastics. But the innovation of what's going on, there's still very innovative guys. I mean, like 3D printers.
Yeah, sure. And absolutely.
Holy moly, there's stuff like that out there that is both going to help with the really old stuff and if they do new stuff. Let's say plastics. I mean, plastic kind of stuff. In the 70s started going plastic, 60s even.
Right.
You can take that kind of thing and reproduce it,
Yeah.
So, I think there's still going to be work there forever and ever, but I don't think our history's going away.
No, definitely not.
Right? I mean, history's not going away, so that means people are going to save some of the history.
Yeah,
and there's always going to be somebody needed, and I think the thing about let's say a 1977 Lotus, okay? I mean, 77 didn't build a lot of great stuff, right? So there needs to always be somebody to take that on. And when somebody calls me and says, I got a doll, then I need restored, I'm like, and I said, well, we're not doing dolls right now. We're just not doing it. There has to be somebody out there because he says, well, who's the best guy you recommend? I'm thinking. And, I mean, I know all guys all over the United States. I don't know. I don't know if anybody does what we do. I don't. Yeah. I wish I did because then I'd probably bring them in or open another shop and have them, but I don't.
Sure.
Nobody steps up and says, hey, I can do anything.
Yeah.
I'm not, or they're not even willing to, bottom line.
Right, yeah.
So with the kids that we have, hopefully someday, there's a lot of innovative kids out there that are doing all kinds of, fabrication, cool stuff. The cars are changing, hot rods are changing.
Cool artists out there.
Yeah, there's cool artists. Yeah. There's very cool artists out there. So hopefully he'll be able to take some of those people and carry on. I don't think his challenge is going to be anything besides how to keep the business going.
There you go.
And it will be, and I think Tyler will do it. I think Allie would do it. Brettley will probably find something, find his niche somewhere. But I think those two kids are just going to go with it.
Yeah, cool. Well, it's a smart answer. I mean, if you build it, they'll come. So it's definitely.
Sooner or later, it goes up and down.
Yeah.
Got to figure something out.
So I know you haven't seen it now, and I know it obviously is a huge challenge for people to learn from scratch, kind of like you've done over the last 30 years. But with the popularity of the show, do you feel like it will start to, promote friendly competition maybe, or new?
God, I hope so.
Yeah.
God, I hope so.
Too busy?
I want friendly competition. Is that what you mean?
Well, sure. I mean, like, let's say another restaurant. It doesn't have to be next door in Vegas, but, let's say out in Henderson somewhere. So, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, across the country. I think, yeah, absolutely, because you're nothing without competition. When I would do the Coke machines, there was like 4 guys in the United States that did them. And when we went to the big trade shows, it'd be a fight. It'd be just who's the best. And that made me better.
Yeah.
That made me better, or them better. And that kind of stuff. Without it, you're going to get to a point where you just get you always got to be learning. If you're not learning anything new, trying to get any better, you're just going to put out the same,
Yeah, sure.
And, I want to do a show about that. I want to do build-offs against other guys. I want to bring other people, because that's the goal, is to try to get out there and have other shops that are running, or we franchise out, or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
Because just what you said, I mean, how far is Tyler going to go? Is he going to keep going? Well, you don't know. You're in Nevada. You're one guy in Nevada. How do you know? Like in the olden days when I would run around and pick, I'd drive around and go, there's no more Coke machines on this planet. There's nothing left. As soon as the show hit, here comes thousands emails. How many do you need? Why? You don't know.
Who do I tell I need 2x4s? Tyler ain't here.
You have to wait till tomorrow.
Cowboy.
I'm going to have enough to do another crate.
Okay, then you have to wait for me.
Can I ask him? Hey, Cowboy.
He left.
Is he as grumpy on the show in real life?
He's grumpy. He's so grumpy, it's unreal. He'll just tell you, it's bad. He's bad.
So listen, we know you got to get back. So just maybe one more question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love the relationship between you and your brother.
Yeah.
Very competitive and friendly nature. You both seem real laid back.
Yeah, we are laid back.
Yeah. Definitely.
Kelly's not. We are.
Definitely.
Kelly is New York, and I'm West Coast. So's Ron. Ron's even more laid back than me. Ron and I were best friends from when he was riding a bicycle, so it must have been when he was 11.
Okay.
To, when he was probably 30. He got married, had a kid, had 2 actually. Then he got a divorce, and then he sort of went on his own way. Got out of the business a little bit, started to work for Budweiser. But him and I have been best friends as brothers. It was unbelievable. And it always is the kind of deal when I get married. I mean, I get married all the time.
Yeah, congratulations, by the way.
Yeah,
Kelly seems great.
Yeah, she is great.
Yeah.
So when you get married, then it's all them. That's it. So everybody I can only give so much out to my brother or my kids. But we were really tight. Cool. And for him to come in and do that, he's my brother. But he just, whatever I say sort of goes. He'll sort of question me a little bit sometimes, and then I still sort of stomp on him because I'm always his older brother.
Sure.
And he respects me, and I respect him too. But it's a good relationship, him and me. Yeah. It's nice to, I got another brother, another sister. We don't talk very much, so to have Ron still around is pretty cool.
Yeah.
My parents are still alive, and they live in Boulder.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
What last question? Have you ever given your parents, like, for their anniversary gift or anything like that? Have you ever stored anything for them?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, they one of the pieces that he still has was a little. It's called an airline picnic cooler that they built in the late 30s, and it was only for airlines. I mean, you would go on a TWA, and the pilot would carry on his 6 bottles of Coke in one of those picnic coolers. And at the time when I was doing this, they were rare. They were rare, expensive. $1,900 for a picnic cooler was insane back then when you were selling for $300. And I can't remember. I think I found it, and then I restored it and I gave it to his gift as a Christmas gift. And that sits in his living room right there, all proud and everything. And my parents are very proud of me, and he says it all the time, because I was doing this stuff for a long time. Ron was USC playing, baseball throwing, football playing, star, And for my dad to say that means a lot.
Yeah,
it means a lot. So I take care of my parents, definitely.
That's really cool.
They got into Coke about 10 years ago. You go in their kitchen and it's like Coke everywhere, little things everywhere. He sort of followed along. Once I took off, he was into it. He's always been into it. My first buy in '83, I had to go buy. I needed Coke machines, and he drove with me to like somewhere in New York, Bloomington, New York. And it was the ride from hell with my dad driving across the United States. But he upped the money for me. He got the money up, and we bought all these Coke machines. He started in business with me. He was helping me even then. So,
cool.
Yeah, I've always built them something. They're into Coke more than anything.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of people give me gifts, Coke gifts. It's like they don't even know how much Coke stuff I've had in my life. So I give it to them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's probably more proud of your work ethic, than
how
your
it turned
stardom.
out. Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. He likes how he's watching that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he thinks of the.
Does he watch the show?
Yeah, he watches relentlessly.
Oh, sure.
And when it's off, he calls me up. What's happening? Are you on the show anymore? What's happening? Because he likes to. Yeah. Because he loves seeing that stuff. They're good people.
Yeah, I bet, man. Well, listen, Rick, thank you so much for your time. Really
You bet.
appreciate
You
it.
bet, guys.
Owner of Rick's Restoration, star of the hit show on the History Channel, American Restoration. Thanks, Rick.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
And,
I have no idea how to use this. This is like the new iPhone. I'm like retarded.